Hello friends, I'm Phil and welcome back to PG Prototypes. In the previous video, I tied up all the loose ends of the McGilvery factory complex by completing the remaining buildings and adding some fencing to enclose the industry. Whilst I was editing the previous video, I came to the realization that I haven't actually shown any trains operating in a while, so I'm going to try rectify that in today's video. Now, with the shunting lead track limited to a loco and 2 wagons, you'll be able to guess that this layout only accommodates small locomotives. And as I mentioned in previous videos, this is by design and it is right up my street because my absolute favorite locos are some of Hornby's smaller shunting locomotives. So without further ado, let's meet the fleet. The Class 8 locomotive is possibly one of my favorite locomotives of all time. It is a robust little loco that looks at home on a large, medium or small layout. Now this is an older Hornby model, DCC with an ESU Locksound V3.5 that was purchased for 3,995 Rand originally, but I bought it secondhand for 2,450, which is an absolute steal as an ESU decoder is currently going for around 2,600 Rand on its own. Now, when it comes to Hornby, I personally feel that their products are hit and miss. Sometimes they produce absolute junk and other times little nuggets of gold. And in this case, the Class 8s are absolutely beautiful and they've hit it out the park with these locos. These little guys don't come up often new or secondhand in South Africa, so I currently only own 3 and I will definitely be buying more if they do come up. As I mentioned, this is one of the older Hornby Class 8s released in 2011 and we can see that it is in the older styrofoam packaging. Very neat, but I do find that this styrofoam deteriorates a bit over time, but it's nothing major. I was lucky when I bought this one as it has its original paperwork. It's not the end of the world for me if a second-hand loco doesn't have all the contents it came with originally, but I definitely prefer it when it's complete. So I grew up playing with Markland model trains, and something that I loved as a teenager was getting a new product and opening it. They always had great packaging and I always felt it was a real treat to open the product that I just bought. So I feel that packaging is just as important as a product because the unboxing is a ritual in itself and the packaging on this 08 doesn't disappoint at all. As you can see, this model is decorated in the BR green livery with wasp stripes on the ends. And it just amazes me that such a basic color scheme can look so good. There are so many fantastic details on this locomotive, and this is why I feel it is one of Hornby's finest. The sprung doors on these models are such a cool little detail. I mean, I understand that this won't be a feature when you're actually running your model, but I think it's a fantastic piece of engineering, especially at this scale. Another feature I really enjoy about these models is the amount of separately applied details. All the grab irons, pipes, mechanical details, window wipers, and even the ladders on the front of the loco have been applied separately. So this video isn't meant to be a locomotive review, and it's rather meant to be an introduction to the type of locomotive that will run on this layout. So I'm not going into detail about the internals of this locomotive, but I will say that the quality carries through the entire locomotive. There are so many ways to enjoy this hobby, and in no way do I claim to be an authority on how people should or shouldn't enjoy it. But I just like to present the way that I approach it in the hope that it adds to the enjoyment of the hobby for someone that didn't quite see it this way. Cost is a major limiting factor of this hobby as it can dissuade some from even attempting the hobby, but what I've learned over the years is that you really don't need a lot to build a very fulfilling layout and collection. A small detailed loco like this can provide so much entertainment at so many different levels. One doesn't always need a massive collection to get the full benefit of the hobby. One loco like this and a few pieces of rolling stock can be a complete feature by themselves. In my opinion, it pays to buy the best loco that your budget allows, as this will determine how much running versus troubleshooting you do. In my case, I have very limited time for trains, and I sometimes like to run my layout for just 10 minutes at a time, so reliability is an important factor for me personally. And there's no criticism to anyone that buys locos in need of repair or older locomotives, as that is a hobby in itself, and it's ultimately about what brings you enjoyment. But my point here is that you can sacrifice collection size for quality if you are on a tight budget. The second loco that we'll call this layout home is another Hornby Class 8, this time in the British Rail blue with the wasp stripe ends. For the most part, the same as the previous loco with some minor detail differences, as it is a later prototype. This model was first released by Hornby in 2015, and this particular one was only DCC ready. I added a Hornby TTS sound decoder after I had purchased it. At the time, the only TTS decoder available to me was for the Class 20, which just happens to be another favorite of mine, but as you will see later in the video, it does just fine. I've also added some Buckman branch line figures just to add a little bit of character to the loco. Something that I haven't mentioned is that these locos come with detail packs, which I have chosen not to add. These packs have all the hoses and coupler details you need to make it look like the prototype. I've chosen not to add them for now, but I definitely will add them at a later stage. I absolutely love these locos and I highly recommend getting your hands on one. The only criticism that I have is that they don't have operating lights, but this is standard for this type of model and the year that it was built. You could always add LEDs at a later stage, but it's a bit tricky as the Class 8 has very small lights. The last regular loco for this layout is this stunning Ruston Hornsby 48DS. If ever there was a locomotive fitting of the title Little Critter, it is this little guy. I paid 2,410 Rand for this little guy, and it was worth every cent. This model just oozes character, and when I have run it on my other layout and previous layouts, it is a complete show stealer. In my opinion, this is another hit from Hornby. Beautifully detailed and packaged, and it is a superb runner. This little critter features a removable roof with a fully detailed cab interior, a power pickup flat wagon that can be placed on either end of the loco, and an absolutely superb drive mechanism. If you do go the route of having a small shunting layout, or you just have a limited budget, this is an ideal locomotive that will instantly multiply your layout character, even just sitting in a siding. And although the power pickup flat wagon improves running, you can absolutely run the loco without it. I've even seen videos of people fitting sound decoders with keeper lives to these little critters, and they are just something else. I don't have any hard and fast rules for rolling stock at the moment, so I'm just going to use items that I already have. The siding sizes mean that shorter wagons will definitely perform better on this layout. In order to cover the different types of inbound and outbound freight, I'm going to use good old-fashioned boxcars, open wagons, and my favorite Lomax as my main freight wagons. I still haven't decided what the other industry on the layout will be, so that may open some doors for other types of freight wagons. While we have some close-ups of these wagons, I want to mention couplers. I'm not mad about these old style couplers, and in a perfect world I would change everything to Katie knuckle couplers, but in the grand scheme of things it's not really such a big deal. These work fine and I can deal with it for now. I don't really want to divert any of my efforts to this type of endeavor at this point in the project. Let's take the locos to the layout and see how they run. First up, the BR Green Class 8. The factory sound file on this loco was not great, and no matter how much I adjusted the volume levels, the speaker would just distort. I found another 8-cylinder loco sound file on the ESU website, and my good friend Neil from Valley Loco Works kindly reprogrammed the loco for me. For the rivet counters, it may not complete the job adequately, but I'm really happy with how it sounds. I want to point out the absolutely beautiful slow speed performance of this loco. My preference is slow speed running and shunting, so this is the best part for me. I love that one can hear the automated sounds as the loco starts and stops, and the beauty of a shunting layout is that you don't really need a lot of space to get huge value out of all the features a DCC decoder has to offer. For today's video, I've set up a makeshift boom stand to try and capture an aerial view of the shunting operations. In this maneuver, the Class 8 is going to deliver a boxcar and an open wagon to the warehouse building. I haven't learned the British signalling conventions as of yet, but just for my entertainment, I'm using the horns to signal changing of points and movements of the loco. The aerial view really gives a good sense of the scale of the track work in relation to the locomotives and the rolling stock. And at this point, I would also like to point out that none of the frogs are separately powered on this layout, and these Class 8s perform just fine. This highlights how important it is to take time to get your track work right at the very beginning. I just want you to listen to all the auxiliary sounds that this loco is making. I've done nothing fancy, just moved the loco meter, and yet there is so much to occupy the senses. I am at my happiest when I'm running locomotives like this. The loco gives off 2 toots and the point is switched to take it on its next route. Here we can see the value in the slow speed of the servo motors for switching the points. In this video, and hopefully throughout the series, I want to show how much fun one can have with this hobby with very little space and minimal investment. These small details, slow speed running, slow speed point operation, just add extra character to a layout. And here we can see our Class 8 arriving at the correct siding to drop off the wagons. The small shunting operation has taken a few minutes to complete, and for me it feels really rewarding. The beauty part of this type of layout is that you could plan a long switching operation and break it down into multiple smaller maneuvers. If you don't have a lot of time in your day, just turn the layout on for 5 or 10 minutes, run a single maneuver and tick it off your list. I personally find this type of running very convenient, relaxing and rewarding, but I suppose that's just my approach to model railroading. You will notice that I'm using a small plastic spatula to uncouple my wagons. I designed them and cut them out so that I could make uncoupling a little easier for me. You just put it in place, let it drop down, and your uncoupling is done. If it's something that any of you would benefit from, please drop me a comment below and I'll upload all the necessary files to cut it out by hand, 3D print it or laser cut it. And I know that there are lots of products available for uncoupling, but this particular one worked quite nicely for me and I'm really happy with it. The blue Class 8 is running the Hornby TTS Class 20 sound decoder, and I don't think it sounds half bad. At the time of purchase, the Class 8 sound scheme decoder was not available, so I just took what I could get. I do have another Class 8 in the much later DB livery, and that does have a factory fitted Class 8 sound scheme, which is absolutely superb. I am not a huge fan of these Hornby TTS decoders in general due to their lack of motor tuning series, but this loco actually performs really well and I don't have any complaints. The slow speed is great, the sound is great, but I would never buy one of these decoders now. I don't even know if they're still available. I think they've been replaced by the much more advanced Hornby HM7000 decoders, which seem to be really good. And lastly, the little Ruston. As I mentioned before, this little guy is an absolute treat with so much character. When it comes to DCC decoders, I usually have a no Hornby rule, but at the time of purchasing this loco, it was my only option. When the decoder works, it runs beautifully, as you can see here, but there are times when it seems to just do its own random thing, and I've found this with a lot of Hornby decoders. But today's video is not meant to be a bash Hornby session, so let's just focus on the good qualities of the loco and the decoder. I just want you to take a look at the slow speed performance and notice how little noise is generated by the drive mechanism in this loco. The aerial view gives a great demonstration of how well this little critter handles points. The Loco can still run slower than this, but I feel the speed gives a good enough demonstration of the locomotive's performance. Notice there is no stuttering and no stopping on the points. If you do want to attempt a shunting layout, it really pays to take your time in the initial phases of planning and track laying. These layouts are an absolute nightmare when done incorrectly, and poor locomotive performance has led many people to abandon the hobby. So when it's done right, you will get pleasure out of the layout, and small locos will become the backbone of the layout, with slow speed running being a normal thing for your layout, and that adds a lot of character. Hopefully you can see from today's video that choice of locomotive is just as important as every other aspect of a layout build. If we take the time to optimize the layout for what we will ultimately run on it, we can get better performance out of our models and consequently a better hobby experience. Many years ago I had a Markland Big Boy locomotive, which is an absolute behemoth of a model. My layout only had radius 1 and radius 2 curves, but Markland had engineered the model to operate on any radius within the Markland track system. It looked absolutely ridiculous when it went around a turn, and it was very difficult to have any meaningful running with the locomotive. So how did that end? Well, the Loco was packed into its very fancy wooden box and run once a year as a special occasion. And in my world, that's not really a good fate for a model that costs so much and should be enjoyed. What I hope to achieve with this layout is quick, easy and seamless operation. And what I'd really like to do when the layout is complete is put together a short shunting list and hand the controller to a person that isn't in the hobby at all, and just let them figure the puzzle out and enjoy themselves. That would show me that it's a good layout, that it's a good concept, and that it's easy for a person getting into the hobby to build such a layout. As usual, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you that take the time to watch these videos, and an extra special thank you to all of you that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It goes a really long way to getting me to a position where it becomes more viable to make these videos on a regular basis and to put more into them. But even if you just enjoy the content and get some tips for something that you're working on, then I'm really happy with that. The ultimate goal is promotion of this absolutely amazing hobby. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep training.